Hi, my name is Megan Crone, and I'm a writing coach and editor. In this series of videos, I will be walking you through how to implement APA 7 style in Microsoft Word. These videos are useful for faculty, students, or anyone using APA 7 style. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to implement your headings for APA 7 using the styles. I'm then going to help you format the spacing of your reference list. And then lastly, we're going to add in an automatic table of contents. All of these items really help with both saving yourself some time and making sure that your document is consistently formatted. So as you can see, I have a fake title page right here. We're not going to worry about that in this video. Then you have the abstract. So from here, I'm going to count this as a level 1 heading. That will really depend on your institutional guidelines if you're a student. It'll depend on journal guidelines. Most journals won't have an automatic table of contents, but you want to make sure that this abstract heading is formatted correctly. So the easiest way to use the styles for headings, you'll see if I go up here to heading 1 and I want to make this a level 1 heading for APA 7, this is not formatted correctly. But level 1 headings in APA 7 should be bolded, centered, and in title case, meaning each word for the first letter should be capitalized. So I have that correct here. So what I'm going to do is highlight the word, go up to heading number 1. I can ignore that it changed the formatting for now. I'm going to right click. In here, the very first option you have is update heading 1 to match selection. So that's what I do because it saves time, and all of a sudden, look, heading 1 matches our APA 7 level 1 headings. Another option is you can right click and go to modify. And in here, you have options to change all kinds of items. One item that's particularly important, I always double check, is going in here to this format button in the lower left corner, then going to paragraph, and I want to make sure all my spacing is correct. So I want to make sure this is set to 0 and that my double spacing is in place. Often you'll see this might be defaulted to auto, or you might have additional spacing. You want to make sure these are both set to 0. I'm going to talk about the second tab once I get to a better example for this, but I do check both tabs. Okay, so we're all set here for a level 1 heading. Then I can scroll down to the body of the paper and I can go to my next level 1 heading, highlight it, and then simply click heading number 1. Now it perfectly matches level 1 headings for APA 7. You can see it's bolded, centered, and in title case. So I'll scroll to my next one, same thing. Like I said, this can be a huge time saver, and then it makes sure that your headings are formatted consistently. Now here in this methodology section, you'll see I've got a heading right here that should be a level 2 heading. So what I'm going to do is in level 2 for APA 7, they should be left aligned, so that's correct. They should be title case, that's also correct, but it needs to be bolded. So I'm going to highlight this, go to heading number 2, again left click, right click, and update heading to match selection. But then you'll see this heading is dangling above the sentences that it's supposed to be introducing. So to fix that consistently throughout the paper, yes, I could just press enter until it's in the right line, but you can see that can mess some things up. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight it, go to heading number 2. I'm going to go to modify. And again, I go into the paragraph to make sure that these spacings are all correct. Then I'm going to go to the second tab. I'm going to select both widow and orphan control. And what that does is make sure that the lines, there's never one line hanging out by itself on a page. I'll show examples of that later. I'm also going to select keep with next. So what that does for the headings is that it keeps the heading with the paragraph that follows it. That means your headings will never be dangling on one page. You'll see that automatically bumps that right down there. And it'll always stay with the paragraph that follows it. So I'm going to do the same thing, heading number 2 for my sample, heading number 2 for my data collection, heading number 2 for data analysis, data number 2 for trustworthiness, and heading number 2 for ethics. Now let's just say, for example, I wanted this to be an APA 7 heading number 3. My paper is too short to have that many levels of heading. The only difference for heading number 3 in APA 7 is it's italicized. So you can do the exact same thing. Let's say I wanted this to be what heading number 3 is, and now that's what heading number 3 is. Since my paper is shorter, I'm going to switch that back to heading number 2. What you can also do, I'm going to take off all formatting for that heading of ethics, is for headings number 4 and 5, those don't work as well for the styles in Microsoft Word, because heading number 4 for APA 7 is just bolded and then in the paragraph. If I tried to do that, let's say if I made, let's find ourselves heading number 4. You can find additional styles here also, but if you end up adding this as a heading, you can see it changes the whole paragraph, and I don't want to do that. So these ones I just do manually because it will change the formatting of the whole thing. So I'm going to put this back, however, to heading number 2 because my paper is not, again, long enough to need that many levels of heading. So again, we've got this dangling heading right here. I'm going to change the heading to 1 because I didn't do that at the beginning. It didn't join. So I want to go back and make sure keep with next. You can do that at any point. So I'm going to go in and add these headings, level 2, level 2, level 2, level 1, and then I'm down here in my references. So references often for tables of contents are you want them at the same level as heading number 1, but in APA 7, your references should not be bolded, so you have to manually undo that. So now you'll also see I have my references here, but they do not have the hanging indentation that is required for APA 7. So what you can do there, again, a way to make this consistently formatted is you highlight the whole reference list. I'm going to go in here to paragraph. I'm going to add in a hanging indentation. Now you want to make sure that these are both set to zeros because sometimes your left alignment can get a little messed up if you don't double check that. But the hanging indentation by 5 and then 0.5, and then all of a sudden you've got the correct formatting here. The nice part then is that these lines are treated as being together. And so even if I add in something else here because I forgot a piece of the title, it shifts the whole thing and I don't have to manually go through, press enter, tab it over, and then change it. Another nice thing is that if you go through this formatting, so I have my hanging indentation, I'm also going to go over to the second tab and pick keep lines together. So what that does, it makes sure that if you have multiple pages of references, so let's say just right here, I added in a whole bunch of references so that these ones get pushed to the next page, your references will always stay together. So you won't have one line on one page, one line on another, they'll stick together. So that's another way to make sure that your referencing is, so that your formatting is consistent throughout your paper, and that can all be automatically done with Microsoft Word. So now that we have our spacing and our headings all set up, we can add in a table of contents. So tables of contents are uncommon for journal articles and other things. So usually you want to check in, if you're a student especially, check in with your institutional guidelines or whatever the guidelines are for where you're submitting your work. I'm going to put mine after the abstract, but again, the order of things really depends on where you're submitting. So I'm going to insert a page break. Now I have a nice clean blank page for my table of contents. The nice thing is that because I use the styles, it's so easy to insert a table of contents automatically. I'm going to go into references. Then way over here on the left, it says table of contents. So I'm going to select that. I'm just going to pick automatic table of contents 2, just because it says table of contents and that's what I want my title to be. You have some other options here, and you can also do a custom one, which I'll show you how to do in a different video. So if your journal or institution or wherever you're submitting your paper requires very specific formatting that doesn't match these automatic tables, you can create that on your own. So when I select automatic table 2, bam, there's my table of contents. So I have all of my headings. My level 1 headings are left aligned. My level 2 headings are indented slightly. And then I have my page numbers with the little leaders the whole way through. Of course, this doesn't match the same font I have. And when you are choosing a font, note in APA 7, there's a couple different options now. I like to go with the default 12-point Times New Roman font, but there are some options for both serif and sans serif fonts that you can use. So I'm going to highlight my whole table of contents. I'm going to change it to Times New Roman, 12-point font. I want it double spaced. This is a little shortcut for double spaced. You can also go into your paragraph spacing to do the same thing. I want 0 points in between. And then just for this here, I want it in black. I want it centered, which is common, especially for dissertations, but what is also common is you want it in all capital letters. So usually you'll do that with all of your chapter headings and any headings you want in all capital letters. You can add that in as an option. I'll show you how to do that in another video. But just for to simplify here, what you can do is go into font and then all caps. And then there we go. We've got a nicely formatted table of contents that matches my paper exactly. The other nice thing about this is that you can update the table. So if you make changes in the text, you can just go to update table and you can choose to update the entire table. So let's say you added some headings or you changed some headings or you deleted some headings, you can update the entire table. And as long as you have your styles matching your headings, it'll be all set. Or if you didn't change your headings, you only changed the content, you can do update page numbers only. And when you hit OK, all of these page numbers on the right will update to match what page your headings are on based on using these styles. So a very simple thing, really useful. It makes updating it really quickly, very quick. And then in addition, one thing I really like is that then when you go to the View tab, I can select my navigation pane, and now I can jump to areas of my paper really quickly. So that can be really helpful so that you don't have to just keep scrolling through, especially if you've got a document that's dozens or hundreds of pages. It's really nice to be able to just click to the appropriate section. You can also use this to very quickly make sure you have everything included. So while you're scrolling through, okay, all of my headings match what's in here, which means they'll all be in my table of contents. So it's a nice way to do that quickly to check all of those things. In future videos, I'll also show you how to use page numbers. It's because a lot of times, especially in dissertations, but in some other aspects of writing too, you'll have different types of page numbers for the front matter versus the chapters. The table of contents will always match that. So if you have lowercase Roman numerals for your abstract, it'll do that, and then keep your Arabic numerals for the rest of the content. It's just a really convenient way to do that, and I'll show you how to add those in another video. So thank you so much for joining me here, and I look forward to seeing you in other videos.